What's going on, folks? This is Dylan with Manoa Chocolate, and today's Craft Chocolate TV episode is going to be about aging beans and chocolate. And this is something that was widely spoken about in 2010 to 12, even up to 2014 when we first got into this, and we don't do it. We've never done it. And in fact, this is my personal opinion, the only reason we would want to do it is if our beans weren't good. And at this point in time, all our beans are great. And so we don't age anything. In fact, our policy is to try and convert it into chocolate as fast as we can and sell it. And so that way our business functions so much better because we are not trying to age poor quality beans. Now, when you're aging beans, the main thing that's happening are compounds are being volatilized, mainly acetic acid. Acetic acid is vinegar. We've covered this multiple times. And vinegar adds a lot of fruity characteristics, but not all cacao that we purchase has a lot of acetic acid that happen in the ferment. Some are much more base chocolate, as we would say, as opposed to bright and fruity, which it comes from the vinegar. And so Tanzania, I've got a story where this will kind of explain what happens in aging and how you can accelerate it if you wanted to. But it all depends on what you want as a chocolate maker. So I like buying Coco Camili Tanzania and showcasing these amazing fruity characteristics. Now we have our cacao from Tanzania come in burlap sacks, and inside that burlap sack is a grain pro bag, which is a thick green bag that keeps the cacao protected. That keeps the acids and the gas inside that bag. And so the experiment that was so fascinating was in the same container that was shipped from Tanzania to California, our beans were all in the grain pro bags and all the other cacao wasn't. The samples from the two were extraordinarily different in the amount of fruity characteristics that remained in ours. But that doesn't mean one was better than the other. The cacao that wasn't in the grain pro bag had more of a base chocolate note and less fruit. Nothing wrong with that at all, but wasn't what I was interested in. Not only that, in Hawaii, this is a completely separate conversation, but we are in the tropics and deal with something called the cacao moth. The scientific name of this moth is escaping me at the moment. We can do another episode on this because it's actually a problem that most chocolate makers face. But we have our cacao more protected by being in these grain pro bags, and it kept more of the fruity notes. If I wanted to age it, it's better if it wasn't in that, so it would off-gas more as beans. I don't want to off-gas it more. I like the fruity notes. I like the vinegar. The beans were so well handled as post-harvest handling on the farm, as well as fermentation and drying. I want to keep it. I want to showcase it. So that's a really good example of a chocolate maker's artistic touch on the end flavor in that bar. So that's a bit of an example of what we want and our style. So we don't age our beans because at this point we buy great beans. And that's just our opinion. So I think good beans don't need aging. Conching can also help if you want to accelerate the aging because a lot of it is recirculating the chocolate, exposing it to oxygen, and off-gassing it, just like thyme would do in any bean. And the bar will also do this as well. So conching can help this, but what we started to do recently is even if there was vinegar left, we're not driving as much of it off. We don't want you to taste the chocolate and feel a burn in the back of your throat, which is a good indicator of vinegar, too much vinegar being in there, but we do want that tartness if it was naturally in there. So that's a bit on conching, but when you buy good beans, it means that there's a lot of flexibility throughout your process. You can age it if you want, it's going to be good. You can turn it into chocolate right away, it's going to be good. When you're roasting, you can do a lighter roast. Hey, that's great, no problem. You can do a darker roast. it's going to be way different, but it's still going to be good. So that's the beauty of understanding what you start with. And this is still where everybody is learning, us included, on how you end up with good beans. And this is mostly on the growing side. We've covered this a few times, and there's so much more to learn. So that's a bit on beans. I find acidic beans, they continue to age really well. It's like a wine that's very large, like a big wine, like Cabs and Petit Syrahs. You can age them for so long because there's so much there. And in this case, the beans that have more acidity correlate to that in the sense that you can sit on them for 2 years and it might just become more balanced with time. This is just my opinion, like I said before. I like them super fruity, but you can still sit on them and they will taste great years down the line. So this is something that there's not a lot of experiments done yet on. But anyway, aging chocolate is kind of a... most people don't wait long enough to age their chocolate because they eat it right away. They don't sit on it for years. It's not a bottle of wine that you're collecting. It's something that is an affordable luxury that you consume right away and enjoy. So that's our take on aging chocolate. I know a lot of people have opinions about this. No one's really right because it's subjective. So that's Manoa Chocolate's current take on aging beans. Hope you enjoy this. We'll see you next time. Aloha.